Dear listener, this episode contains a multitude of cuss words, as well as discussions of poverty, violence, genocide, and famine.
Listener discretion is advised. By the dulcet sounds of a summer rain, I'm KT Sunshine.
And under dark but cozy clouds, I'm Reverend Nadine Morsch, interfaith minister. And us freaks gotta stick together.
So, what new horrors have you brought for me this week, Nadine?
Well, we're going to revisit something we've been talking about for a few weeks now, which is the Epstein Files. They're not going away, much to Trump's chagrin. It
would help if he shut up about it.
I know, right?
He's like Streisanding affecting himself.
He is definitely Streisand affecting himself. If you don't know what the Streisand effect is, Google that. It's very interesting.
It's a funny story.
Yeah, it is a very funny story. But it essentially boils down to that the more you try to tell people not to talk about something, the more they're going to talk about it.
Why wouldn't you want me to talk about it? Is there something you don't want me to know?
Right. And so MAGA is having a really hard time with this. A lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them really bought into this identity of being the protectors of children from all of the unseemly things of the world, right? And we know there's some inherent hypocrisy in that because we know that the right repeatedly and regularly does not protect their own children from coaches and faith leaders. And those are people that are consistently and repeatedly caught diddling children.
I mean, it's Republican politicians, coaches, and priests that have like the highest likelihood of molestation of any, or to be molesters of any like cohort, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, and a lot of that is about opportunity. You know, there are a lot of opportunities for these people.
Are on there too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that has been a real thorn in the regime's side. Trump is quoted to have said in private, "They're gonna fuck me," which is definitely how an innocent person reacts under the gun.
It's like those Nixon tapes after Watergate. He's like, "We're fucked. They're gonna get us. We're fucked."
I mean, yeah, man, those were simpler times.
Yeah, he actually resigned. They impeached him, but they didn't remove him from office.
Yeah.
But he resigned. And at the time, you were just kind of expected to act with some decorum.
Yeah. Decorum wasn't just something that you demand of your enemy to hobble them.
Yeah, decorum's dead.
Yeah, decorum is definitely dead. But also, too, like, no amount of decorum, no strongly worded letter, and no social pressure is going to stop the rising tide of fascism and Nazism.
Yeah, because that's just not how those things work.
Right. So, there's an interesting thing happening with the Epstein Files with Ghislaine Maxwell. And it's that she is willing to testify, but only under certain conditions.
Well, the Trump team has sent lawyers to go talk to her in her cell. So those are the stipulations. She has to be able to perjure herself in the testimony and or receive a pardon. So they're negotiating about that now.
Right, yeah, because being able to perjure yourself is definitely something that you need if you're going to tell the truth.
Well, and if you're in prison for life, like she is, having a pardon at the end of whatever they want you to do, is fairly attractive. Yeah. So I don't think that we can trust anything she says. The only thing we could trust is whatever documents come out.
Right. That's very true.
Were before this.
I mean, and even those documents might even be doctored by now, because they've been in the hands of the regime for so long.
Right.
There's no guarantee that we're going to get the real list or the real documents. And more than likely, Maxwell will say Trump did nothing wrong. He was never there. It wasn't me.
The thing where it says face towards enemy. So that's what they're going to do. They're going to point her at their enemies.
Right. Yeah. So, and also, she's going to name Democrats, and definitely there are Democrats on this list, right?
Oh, yeah. And fuck them.
oligarchs in general. Yes, indeed. There was a good post that I saw that was like, I don't care if Fred Rogers and Pedro Pascal and Ryan Reynolds and, every one of our favorite celebrities we could think of. We don't care if all those people are on the list. Yeah, release
whatever.
the list.
Release the list.
We don't care who's on it. We want the truth. If something can be destroyed by the truth, it should be.
Yep, absolutely.
So, so Maxwell's more than likely going to say, right, Trump did nothing wrong, but all these Democrats are evil monsters, of course. And we are not even going to be able to believe if all of those people actually are on the list. It's interesting because people were saying like, oh, well, if Trump was on the list, then why didn't the Biden administration release the list? And there are a few reasons. One was that literally the documents were sealed to protect.
Yeah, they didn't have them.
Yeah, they literally did not legally have access to them to release them, A. B, if the Biden administration had released the full Epstein list, Trump would have just said, oh, this is what he's trying to say now, which is like, this is a Democratic hoax.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he can't shut his mouth, though.
Yeah.
So he'll say Democratic hoax, and then he'll say, well, Jeffrey Epstein came over and he did a very, what's the thing he says? Inappropriate thing. And then when they press him about it, he's like, well, he was taking employees from my spa. And when you look into who the employees were, they're like 16-year-old girls and shit.
Right. Yeah. He stole my 16-year-olds from me. How dare he?
Yeah.
That's the level of evil that we're dealing with.
Well, he talks about it like an employer, but in the same way as like he owns these people,
I mean, that is...
So, that's fucking disgusting
so
on the face of it.
So a long time ago, I forgot what context it was in, but one of these, oligarchy corporate talking heads actually referred to his labor as human capital stock.
Oh, yeah. That was, 2 years ago?
Yeah, and, is definitely... That was, such a telling moment. They definitely don't see us as human beings deserving of respect, dignity, a living wage, a decent place to live, any of those things. We are human capital stock to them. Let's, something that you and I said in a previous episode is we are expendable animals to these oligarchs.
Yeah, we're only here to facilitate their wealth.
Yep. Yeah. So
some of them don't even see us as the same species.
Yeah, it's very true. It's so disgusting. How broken...
how broken must your brain be?
You must
psychotic?
have no functioning mirror neurons.
Right.
For start.
Complete sociopath or psychopath.
So this is actually an important thing to note, dear listener, is that if it feels like the world has gotten significantly more evil in the last 4 years, it's also worth noting that COVID is a disease that attacks your brain and the frontal lobe of your brain, which is responsible for the part of your brain that is capable of having empathy and compassion and putting yourself in someone else's shoes. So, and a lot of people are on their fourth or fifth infection with COVID or more.
Yeah, I mean, I went to my family in Texas this week, and my grandfather, kind of unsolicited. I mean, we were talking about stuff and just hanging out in the kitchen, and he was like, "Well, I'm not getting the COVID shot. They're not gonna do that to me." And he's like a 90-year-old man, and I'm like, "Well, I've had 4 COVID shots and I'm just fine." And he's like, "Well, they're bad for you. They're gonna get you." They're, he couldn't come up with a good reason other than that the COVID shot will kill you, even though it clearly has not killed me.
Yeah, it has clearly not killed the vast, vast majority of people who've taken it. It's clearly brought better health outcomes overall. We have had very high rates of infection in the wastewater while having, a lot fewer hospitalizations and deaths because of COVID. And those two things are definitely correlated.
Well, if you don't know you have it, then how are you going to report that you have it? Which is why the wastewater data is so important. They're looking at the wastewater and seeing the viral load in it and then estimating the number of current cases out there. And there are people who
Right.
can be asymptomatic. There are people who have minor, minor infection, don't get very sick at all. And then there are people who are going to be fucking killed by it.
Yeah.
Or disabled or have a much worse reaction.
Yep. Yeah.
And with that all going around the human population, it mutates with every infection. And so there's every chance that we will get more and more dangerous strains as time goes on, which we've seen. There have been so many variants before. And a lot of the variants, they're fine. They're not any worse. They're not any better. It's just meh. Some of them are even less bad, but then every once in a while you get one that's just really bad.
Right. And the tendency of the virus is to attack not just your brain, but most of your vital organs.
Yeah,
So-
it attacks your organs. The thing here is that it can affect your reasoning.
Yeah.
And it will definitely affect your health, even if you seem to be healthy after an infection.
Right. Long COVID isn't always obvious, and it might not even come on this infection, but the next one. Or
Right.
the one after.
And every
Right.
time you get infected, the future potential infections could be worse.
Right. It's a cumulative amount of damage that's being done to your vital organs and your entire biological system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which means that each individual infection may not be that bad, but like you said, it's cumulative damage.
Right. Right. Well, here's something a little more fun than that. Trump was trying to get away from all this Epstein heat. And of course, he's been trying to distract in every possible way that he can, with as many ridiculous statements about different things, including trying to revoke Rosie O'Donnell's citizenship.
I mean, she already lives in Scotland and I think is a citizen of Scotland now or has dual citizenship, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So she'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
But how petty.
So petty. Right. So Trump was like, let me get away from all this, and went to his golf course in Scotland where
To
he
do
was...
air quotes diplomacy.
Yeah.
They just spent 3 days playing golf.
Yep. So Scottish protesters have made Trump really uncomfortable on his trip, and we love to see it. In particular, there was a van driving around that had a giant picture of Epstein and Trump palling it up together. I also heard that there was someone who had a stand where he was selling rotten fish to, I would imagine, lob at.
It would be amazing to get that close.
Oh, I know.
You're never
right.
going to get that close.
Sure.
That'd
But,
be something.
yeah. And wouldn't it be a beautiful world if we had the kind of protest rights where we could have a rotten fruit stand and a rotten fish stand every time we had a rally?
Right.
Get old school, get medieval about our protests over here.
We may have to.
Right, yeah.
Did you see the video of Trump cheating at golf?
Oh, yeah, that's also from the Scotland trip.
Yeah, it's
right?
from the
He
Scotland
got
trip.
caught cheating at golf.
So
yeah.
the caddy, he's pulled up in his little golf cart, and the caddies walk in. They're right by the sand trap, and the caddy drops a golf ball for Trump to hit to ostensibly say, this is his ball. He wasn't in the sand trap. So, yeah, just fucking cheating at golf. The man says he's very good at golf. And if you cheat, you probably are. It's hard to be bad at golf when you cheat.
It seems like he's good at business because he cheats, and he's good at golf because he cheats, and he's good at marriages because he cheats, and maybe he's just really not good at anything. That seems to be the logical conclusion. If you're good at things that you know how to cheat at, then you're not actually good at things, or you wouldn't need to cheat.
Right.
Yeah.
He's not really good at cheating either because he gets caught all the time. He's just so rich.
He bankrupted a casino. He
Yeah.
bankrupted a casino.
Well, and there were
My
embezzlements.
goodness.
There was all kinds of shady stuff going on. He should have gone to jail. If he wasn't a fucking billionaire at the time, that motherfucker would have been in jail.
Yeah.
The same rules do not apply.
One of the biggest political issues that we have in this country is our two-tiered judicial system, where
2 tiers is generous.
it is. But there's, the tier for ordinary poors who get the book thrown at them for minor infractions. And then there's white-collar criminals who destroy people's lives, destroy people's livelihoods, and never see anything but maybe a nominal fine, which a nominal fine is the government saying, we don't care that you did this illegal shit as long as we get our cut.
Yeah.
which is fucked.
You got caught, and now we want our cut.
Yeah.
To go away.
And that is gross and is definitely among the things that we need to root out of our political system.
Ooh. Well, okay, so there definitely are, well, I can't say for sure because I haven't seen the Epstein client list, but there's almost certainly Democrats on the Epstein list.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely, probably way more Republicans. Who fucking cares? But I'll tell you this. I come from a conservative family. And the thing is they're just never going to go for the Democrat. Even if the Democrat is clearly the better option, even if the Republican's insane, whatever. Because everybody, so many people in rural America, so many Republicans don't know fucking anything about what's actually happening in the country.
Well,
or who's actually doing it. So, if this Epstein thing, destroys the Democrats as well as the Republicans, maybe that's a good thing. Because there's no moving forward from here as a country. The Republicans, even if they figure out that they've been lied to, even if they figure out that they've been cheated, they're not going to come to the Democratic side.
Right.
And also the Democrats suck.
Yeah, I mean, the Democrats are corporate apologists who are very firmly in the pocket of the oligarchy, or they could have passed any one of a number of really popular things that would have gotten a lot more support.
Well, even these Republicans think that too. They think that the Democrats are just in the pocket of big corporations and they don't know how to do anything. They don't realize that that's also the Republicans. But if the truth can destroy something, it should. And if the truth destroys this bipartisan, air quotes, thin veneer of democracy that we've got going on, maybe that's an opportunity for us to rebuild this whole thing.
Yeah. It would be cool to see a legitimate labor movement in America. That would be amazing.
I mean, a lot of the way you get Republicans is through unions. There are a lot of unions that still operate in the South. And people may still vote for Trump, but they understand union solidarity, at least through their jobs, if not literally anywhere else, because fuck, they can pigeonhole that shit. But at least there's some understanding somewhere.
So there's something interesting that a friend of mine said to me recently that I thought was really beautiful. And he was talking about power. And he said, so the thing about power, he said, and the thing about anarchy is that when you're dealing with your friends, you don't need power. And I think that that's like one of the reminders that like all of these different communities, you know, they may not see eye to eye with other communities, but within that community, they understand that they don't need power. So I think that that's a good starting point for a lot of people, especially because once you realize that that's true, it makes it a lot easier to watch out for people that are using those power dynamics in those friend spaces, because those are the people that you can't trust. Like, those are the people that have their own agenda, and those are the people that are trying to manipulate other people, right?
They can't divorce themselves from the will to dominate.
Right, yeah. But yeah, that's like, I think one of the underpinning ideas of anarchism is like, no, you don't need power because we're all one community.
Right. If we could be one community, then yeah, you would.
Or if we could just be each of our own little communities and then have cooperation between those communities, that would work fine too.
Yeah, if we can work in good faith, then other people will want to work in good faith with us. There are always going to be bad faith actors, but when you figure out who they are, you could do your best to divorce yourself from them.
Right. Yeah, precisely.
It's not always the case, but I mean, I think if we built a less coercive world, that would be a lot easier.
Yeah.
There's going to definitely be a transition from capitalism to whatever the new thing is at some point.
Right.
And it will probably be rocky, but I mean, that's the thing though, is nothing lasts forever. Change is inevitable. Ursula K. Le Guin, you may live under the power of capitalism and its power may seem unescapable, but so too the divine right of kings.
There is still some of that divine right of kings mentality in America, for sure. As many of...
Oh, yeah, well, the prosperity gospel. I mean, if you're rich, it's because God wills it.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that's such a gross misreading of the Bible that I'm like, wow, how do you even sell that to people unless you're intentionally selling it to people that you know are never going to pick up the Bible and read it for themselves?
Well, I think that's what they do.
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
definitely what they do.
They're just
but
taking
like,
advantage of people.
but like, how scary is it that works on so many people? Also, like, listen, I have no beef with Christ. Some of his
Fuck that guy.
followers are the worst. But like, if you think that that's the most important book in the world and that God literally wrote it, right, through prophets or whatever, then like not reading it should clearly be like the hugest sin you could commit. Right? If it's the most important book in the world, then try reading it, my dude, and then maybe come to your own conclusions about what it says, because what's taught at the prosperity gospel pulpit is very, very different than the actual contents of that book.
I mean, a good portion of the book is so dry that it's very difficult for anybody to read it and gain anything from that.
Yeah, that's true. Lots of begats.
Yeah.
Begat.
I mean,
begat,
that's because
begat.
it wasn't meant to be entertaining.
No.
It was meant to relay a lineage and a heritage and a story, a
Well,
narrative.
it's specifically to underpin the conquest of empire. That's what the selection of which stories made it into the canon at the Council of Nicaea has really nothing to do with like the origins of or the genesis of these ideas, and a lot more to do with how do we use these ideas to subjugate people as we conquer them with the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
Like, you can't really wash Christianity of empire because of that. So in way less fun news, something that we're both pretty upset about, this regime has released a new executive order targeting the homeless, addicted people, and mentally ill people for involuntary confinement and institutionalization.
The Ending Crime and Disorder on the American Streets directs the Justice Department to expand indefinite forced treatment for people with mental health disabilities, substance use disorder, or those living on the street who cannot care for themselves, quote. The order also purports to eliminate federal funding for evidence-based programs like harm reduction and housing first. Okay, so we know evidence-based programs work. I mean, they're fucking evidence-based. That's how we know. But housing first works. If you don't have some place to stay, how are you supposed to get off drugs? How are you supposed to get off the street? How are you supposed to get a job? How are you supposed to, I don't know, fucking live in this society?
Yeah.
So this order basically just full-on criminalizes homelessness across the country, which several states have already tried to do and have been met with limited success or outright shot down by the courts. But the courts don't fucking matter anymore. They're all kangaroo now.
Yep.
So it's also important to note that there are populations who are particularly vulnerable here, like the LGBT community, who find themselves at a increased rate of homelessness, especially LGBT children.
Yeah.
40% roughly of the homeless population is LGBT. So this is just another way for the administration to go after LGBT people. As well as homeless veterans. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah. There are also a lot of neurodiverse people that are on the streets as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you're neurodiverse, it's a lot easier to wind up on the streets because the air quotes neurotypicals don't want to deal with you.
Yeah.
It's
Also,
hard to find employment.
Also, a lot of people that are homeless are foster kids that have aged out of the system and don't have any kind of family support to rely on.
Yeah.
So these are all, the vulnerable populations that are going to be affected by this right away. But this isn't even really the goal. The goal is to be able to confine anyone indefinitely without due process just by saying, well, I believe they're a danger to themselves or others, whatever that means in your subjective world and your viewpoint.
I mean, this also helps to fill the coffers of private prisons. And mental hospitals aren't run by the state. They're run by corporations.
Yeah.
So they're going to make the money off of
there
that.
used to be state mental hospitals, and they were so disgusting and abominable and mistreated their patients so badly that they were all shut down.
Yeah, believe it or not, Ronald Reagan shut down a lot of those. But Ronald Reagan didn't have an alternate plan. They just shut them down, and they forced all these people onto the street.
Yep.
And then he wiped his hands and walked away.
And so we're seeing, the effects of that today, where there's still really very few places that people can go. There are some group homes that are good and reputable, but they aren't accessible to everybody.
And there's just as many that are terrible.
Right.
Okay, so in addition to all that, this order also calls for sweeping federal data collection on unhoused people and people with mental disabilities or mental health problems. So if you're on disability now, there's a paper trail of the reason you're on disability in the first place and all that jazz. So that data, it looks like, will be caught up in this, and that could be used for further criminalization down the road.
Right. And we already know, right, that like under the guise of protecting America and America first, like this regime is perfectly fine with criminalizing and deporting people who've never done anything wrong, who have no criminal record of any kind.
Well, it's like when the police shoot an unarmed black teen, and they'll go through like his whole history, and the news will be like, well, he smoked pot that one time. So this will just be that.
Right.
Well, they had this mental health crisis this one time. Now everything they say is, you can't trust anything they say, and we'll just take them away, and then, we'll just use that to justify it.
What's really ironic about that to me is that neurodiverse people, by and large, tend to have a very keen sense of justice and fairness, and have like a sort of instinctive inability to submit to unjust authority. And I definitely see this as being like an arm of the police state to try and tamp down on just like that independent streak of people that don't buy in to whatever the narrative is about how all this violence is justified.
I mean, when you've already been forced out by the system, it makes the whole system look kind of silly.
That too. Yeah, people with autism understand hierarchies. We understand that you value this hierarchy, but we don't think any individual person is more important than any other individual person, and we don't think arbitrary authority is a good enough reason to do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Having a reason, I'm not autistic, but like having a reason to do something is much more compelling to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, just explain it. And if your rationale is good, well, then that makes sense and we'll do it your way. But if you can't explain it and your rationale is do as I say because I said so, well, that's not going to fly with an autistic person or lots of other kinds of neurodiverse people too, because we live well-considered lives. Everything that we do, we've thought to death because we're all a little neurotic. In other news, well, we've been off the air for a little while, so something that happened in the interim was that Colbert's really well-rated television show, The Late Night,
I watched that.
Yeah, got canceled by Paramount after Colbert criticized Paramount's giant bribe to the Republican regime.
Well, they also were trying to sell to Skydance, and so they wanted to go through, and since Trump controls the FCC, having a comedy man who makes fun of Trump, they had to rein that in for the sale.
Well, the funny thing about that is that even having canceled Colbert's show, there's still another 10 months of Colbert's show that's going to air.
Contracts.
Which, I find that really funny because I feel like we're going to see Colbert off the leash now because there's nothing to lose. Like, the show's already been canceled.
I mean, who knows?
I mean, and will probably get picked up again by a different network because it is widely popular and makes a lot of money.
Well, it's the most popular late night show on air. It's sure better than Fallon. Fuck Fallon. He's the worst.
So Paramount is saying that that's a purely financial decision, but like clearly canceling one of your best rated shows that brings you in the most money is not a financial decision.
They say they lose money on it, but if you think of all the PR value, so like actors go on there to promote their movies, right, and if you don't assign a dollar sign to that, it's still worth the advertising value of doing it. So you could say you're losing money if you're not counting the externalities of it.
Sure, sure. Also, I think it's silly even to say, like, oh, we're losing money on it. Like, it's literally one show in one room. It's a monologue and an interview. It
Right.
does not cost a lot of money to produce, my dude. No one is buying that. I mean, maybe MAGA's buying that
there's
because
a whole
they'll.
studio, and that's not expensive. But like, as opposed to multi-scene television where they go off and do a whole bunch of shit and need props and
Right. Yeah. There's no way that Colbert isn't cheaper than most of the other shows that they run, right? And probably makes them the most money.
I mean, probably the biggest expense is Colbert's salary and maybe the band.
Right. Yeah.
Or
probably.
the studio space itself has got to cost, even if you own the studio space.
I think they own that
opportunity.
building, though.
Well, you're right,
Like,
but
I
you got
think
to
the whole
consider the
building
opportunity
is studio
cost.
space. Right. Sure. It could be something else or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's almost no chance that we're not going to see Stephen Colbert on a network that's less willing to bend the knee to this new brand of fascism.
He may just go to the internet. I mean, Conan
Yeah.
O'Brien, they took him off the air, and he just has this, like, he's got a travel show now.
Yep.
Conan O'Brien Must Go, and he's got a fairly popular podcast.
It's true. Yeah, so I mean, he could very easily like move to his own thing and be unconstrained in
Right.
his criticism, which he will definitely be unconstrained in his criticism for the next 10 months. So I don't know about the wisdom of Paramount. You know what I mean? If you were going to cancel the show, maybe you should have waited.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because now you're going to have to deal with the fallout of 10 months of Colbert knowing that this is the last rodeo.
He has been more rowdy, I guess, the last few episodes. But I don't know. I would just say, hey, go watch the show and just see how it plays out, because I think that'll be interesting.
Yeah, it will be very interesting.
Also, it's a funny way to get some of the news. I mean, you don't want to get your news from it, but like, get a little talk about the news, doing the exact fucking thing we are.
Right.
We're just not as funny as him. And we don't have writers.
We have aspirations. We have goals, fam. But yeah, it's the same sort of thing where it's like, okay, keep yourself as informed as you can while also doing whatever sort of self-care that you need to do to make that a thing that you can do without making yourself so indescribably sad that you can't function.
Yeah.
So, it's important.
Infotainment.
Yeah. It's important and it's good. And I think we'll see a lot of very interesting things. In the meantime, the FCC has appointed a babysitter to CBS to ensure that future news or media is not anti-Trump.
Which makes me wonder how the next 10 months with Colbert are going to go.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting.
Surely they'd have some way to rein him in.
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it's sort of the same fuck you that the South Park guys did, right?
Yeah.
So,
they've got so much money now that they've made like $1 billion on South Park. Like,
Yeah.
if they were forced to stop, they'll be just fine.
Yeah, they'll just another network will pick it up, whatever.
Or they'll just fuck off and enjoy their vast wealth.
Sure. But as of right now, they just dared Paramount with the newest anti-Trump episode. Yeah, so they just signed this huge deal for 50 more episodes of South Park. They can't back out of that contract because contracts are one of the only things in this country that people take very seriously.
Well, they can. They'll probably just get a lawsuit and then it'll probably settle.
Right, they'll have to.
But that's still like money.
They'll have to pay that money anyway.
Yeah. I mean, might as well get the content. They're going to pay the money.
Well, we'll
but,
see.
I mean, fucking business guys. People think that businessmen are the smartest people on the planet. Those guys are fucking idiots. Because, I mean, like, businessmen are the guys who run the planet.
Yeah.
And clearly that's going so well.
Yeah. It's definitely noticeably stupid. It's sort of, if you've ever had a bad boss, you understand this dynamic where you can't fix anything that's wrong because boss insists it works fine the way it is and he doesn't want to invest in changing anything.
Yeah.
But you're going to be blamed for everything that goes wrong as a result of not doing things the correct way.
Well, speaking of that, there's a whole lot of companies right now that are pushing ChatGPT and other machine learning programs on their employees. Hey, we want you to use this to do whatever the work. And because of that, there are a lot of people who are not using ChatGPT doing their work and then just saying it was ChatGPT. And so if there's any problems, you can be like, well, you told me to use ChatGPT and there was a problem.
Actually, I saw a really cool thing that certain teachers are doing right now, which is an assignment where they have their student ask ChatGPT a question about history or like some specific subject. And then the student has to research that subject and figure out all the ways that ChatGPT was wrong or misleading. And I think that's brilliant because, like, you're teaching these kids, first off, this is not the be-all, end-all.
It's not magic.
Right. That it's incorrect a lot of the time, but there are, ways to use this tool that are helpful, but don't let it do all your thinking for you. Don't let it do all your work for you, because there's a good chance that that's not even going to be factual or accurate, because ChatGPT is really just pulling from the sum of the internet.
Well, and there are things that it does better than other things. There are some things that it actually is fairly well suited for. Like making list, for example. Say I want to know all the presidents who served as veterans of some war. Right. It's actually good at finding and making the list. But if I ask it to do, other complex tasks or thinking tasks, it's not so good at.
Right, because it can't tell what information is good information and what information is bad information.
It just has information.
Right, it just has information, and it's taking the median sum of all of that information.
Yeah, if there's more data that says X, it's going to be more likely to go with X than Y.
Oh, so this is actually, this is a very interesting thing. So Elon Musk keeps trying to unwoke his AI, Grok. And an interesting thing keeps happening. It keeps deciding that it's a Nazi, going as far as calling itself Mecha Hitler.
Okay, so they keep asking it to conform to conservative ideals, and apparently they're not realizing that those conservative ideals are themselves fascist.
Yeah. It's funny. It's like crunch berries, right? But it's like, oops, all Nazis.
Yeah. Jeez. Every time I try to unwoke it, it just becomes a Nazi. What am I doing wrong?
But they never see that, and there's never enough.
There's no self-reflection.
There's no self-awareness. There's never that moment where you say, are we the baddies?
Yeah. Oh, fuck, I love that meme. Yeah.
It's interesting. That's a great sketch also. Go ahead and look up Are We the Baddies?
Mitchell and Webb occasionally have a really good one. There's this really, they also have a lot of really bad ones, and that's because they did their comedy in the 2000s. But anyway, there's another really good one where it's all these world leaders, and they're welcoming this like new guy into their ranks. He's like worked his ass off. He's got there, and they reveal the secret to him. And the secret is that they're all just a bit drunk all the time. Just a bit buzzed, never drunk, never sober. And there's this... So they go through it, and it seems to be working. And at the end, it's like they get drunk on accident, and it like creates the apocalypse. And it's funny. I just ruined it for you. But if you can, forget what I have said and go watch it.
It sounds great.
It's a good sketch.
So speaking of media capture, the Republican regime has defunded PBS and NPR. The goal here, obviously, is to curtail access to any news that isn't state-sponsored media, like Fox News.
Yeah, it's the state apparatus for disseminating propaganda. And so any narrative that doesn't conform with the narrative that they're trying to push, they've got to silence. And they didn't just defund, they took the budget that Congress had already approved for them and took that money back. So I know that I was listening to NPR today, and they were talking about the shortfall of money. And it was like $54 million alone in the state of New York that those stations are now going to have to make up.
Right.
So somewhere between 40 and 70% of NPR and PBS stations across the country are probably going to shut down.
Yeah.
In rapid succession fairly soon.
And this is something that red states have wanted basically since PBS was created, where PBS was even taken off the air in segregated places because they dared to show white and black children playing together.
Well, I don't know if you remember in the 1990s, they had to bring up Fred Rogers to speak before Congress about how NPR and PBS, things like Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, like, helped children, and that stripping the money from them would be fucking barbarous. So they've been working on this since the 90s.
Especially because it's so little money. It's like what we're spending for Trump to play golf.
Okay, so the Scotland trip, the 4 days he spent playing golf, $100 million.
Yep.
And he spent that at one of his properties in Scotland.
Right.
So he just made all that money.
Yeah, so Trump literally took the entire budget for PBS and NPR, pocketed it by going to his own golf course and spending $100 million of taxpayer money that went right into his business. So he literally stole PBS and NPR from ordinary average people so that he could golf for 4 days in Scotland.
Yeah. Oh, did you hear that he wants to build this big ballroom in the White House? It's all going to be gold trimmed and opulent and fucking shit. It just feels very let them eat cake, you know?
It's very let them eat cake, and it's very I am someone who sees myself as a king. I don't think kings are an outdated idea. I think that they're glory from days past that I want to bring back to me and my oligarch friends. Yeah, there's a whole lot of talk on the internet right now about how the government intends to replace immigrant workers, especially places where they're really desperately needed, like farm workers.
Well, it's not just talk on the internet. Fox News has whole news segments now where they're joking and not joking about replacing immigrant workers with child labor.
Yeah, I mean, the goal seems to be to wind back the clock about 150 years.
Well, and if they could wind it farther than back, they would.
Right.
This is their current ambition.
Yeah.
We'll see their next 5-year plan in the next 5 years.
I mean, and we have also seen RFK Jr. literally say, like, oh, people that are on Medicaid can be working these farm labor jobs. Or people that aren't mentally well can go to mental wellness camps where they farm, happy farms. Right. And all of this is just like, how do we get people to be state property so that they can be rented out to businesses?
So in Austin, Texas, there was a school, well, they called it that, for mentally ill children. So a lot of autistic kids, kids with other things going on were sent there just to not be in public. That's where they were going to spend the rest of their lives. And it was a farm. And so those they used child labor to do farm work at this fucking school. And there were horrible abuses, which is why it was shut down, I think, in the 80s. But we were just talking about that. They just if they can take you and lock you up and then use you as labor, they will.
Yeah.
And they'll justify it by saying, "Oh, well, you know, you got to pay for your upkeep." Never mind that that's a ridiculous notion in the first place.
Yeah, you didn't ask to be here, fam, and the fact that you have to pay to be here is patently absurd. We have more than enough. At like 30% of our current global output, we could have everybody's needs met and have plenty of markets left for luxuries and speculations and all kinds of other things.
I mean, we could just go back to the consumption levels of the 1970s, and it wouldn't fix climate change, but it would really fucking help.
Yeah.
And our parents lived like kings and queens in the fucking 70s.
It's true.
Like, if you were a white person, yeah.
They bought property.
Fuck.
Yeah. What's that like?
Why wouldn't they want to go back to the economics of the 70s?
I mean, that's one of the sad things about the existence of the middle class at all, is how much of a lie the middle class is. There is no middle class, fam. You are either a worker or a capitalist.
An owner.
An owner.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're not an owner, you're a worker.
Yep.
It doesn't matter if you get better treatment and better pay. That doesn't make you a better worker or take you out of the class of being a worker. It just tricks you into defending the owner class because you're getting a kickback from defending them. More news. There's growing evidence that not only the 2024 election was rigged, even beyond voter suppression, but that there was Russian interference in the 2016 election, the 2020 election, and the 2024 election.
Okay, so Susan Miller was the person who led the team in producing this report on Russia's actions in 2016. She says that there is no direct evidence that Trump and the Kremlin worked together, but there is absolutely direct evidence, indisputable in her words, that the Russians interfered in the 2016 election. Now, we all also know, because we watched the news and we lived it, that in the 2016, especially in the 2020, and definitely in the 2024 campaigns, there was a large number of voter suppression campaigns that the Republicans, and specifically red states, managed. Some of the big ones were in Michigan and Minnesota, where they purged thousands of people from the rolls before they could vote. That is election interference.
Right. And also, gerrymandering is also election interference.
Well, the Republicans are doing that right now in Fort Worth, where they're trying to jam through these 4 new maps that they're trying to get through. It's going to eliminate at least 3 different Democratic seats and flip those into the Republicans.
Right.
It's also going to put practically all the brown people in Fort Worth into one district, giving them one representative, as opposed to the 3 they would have now.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, there are lots of different ways that elections can be tampered with, that votes can be suppressed. And I feel like we're going to see more and more and more of that. Part of the reason that I voted this last time was that I thought to myself, well, these might be the closest thing to free and fair elections for the last time that I experience in my lifetime. So I may as well go participate this one time.
Yeah.
Because who's to say when it's going to matter again?
Well, I mean, there are direct campaigns of voter intimidation.
Yep.
Trump in 2020 and 2024 called for thousands of poll watchers to show up and harass election workers.
Yep.
I know where we were in Dallas, there were definitely people out protesting, Republicans. They weren't able to get anywhere close to where we were, but I mean, just the fact that they're there is going to intimidate a lot of people from showing up. When I voted in 2024 here in New York, I was like, do you need to see my license? I mean, I got to show me your ID, right? And they're like, no, we don't see it.
You're on the roll.
And I was like, I could just,
your
I
name
just
and your address.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
It was the easiest voting time. I didn't even wait in a line. It was crazy.
Yeah. Up where I live, which is very rural, there's never even a line. It takes probably 3 minutes in and out.
Wild.
Yeah. People up here, I think, don't have the same understanding of how bad voter suppression is in other places.
Oh my God. There's so many places in South Dallas where there's one poll location. And so the entire community just has to go to this one place, and it takes all fucking day. And a lot of people election day is not a holiday.
No.
And you don't get the day off from your job.
Yep.
I mean, theoretically, they're supposed to give you one, but they don't have to pay you for that.
Right.
So a lot of people just don't vote because it's a fucking chore.
Well, and here's the thing, right? Voting is never going to be the thing that saves us because the oligarchy is not going to allow us to vote away their wealth or power, ever.
Well, they're never going to let a candidate that wants to do those things get that far.
Well, we'll see what happens with Mamdani. I have high hopes.
We're going to need a lot more DSA candidates to even... I mean, look,
to scratch the surface.
Mamdani's good. This is a good thing for New York. I hope he wins. But for him to actually accomplish anything, we need a ton more DSA candidates in office to work together, because the Democrats are just going to circle the wagons.
Right. So
and stop him from doing anything.
Here's the thing, right? Voting won't save us, but if voting did nothing, they wouldn't work so hard to suppress the vote.
It's true. Yeah.
Because they work really hard to keep you away from the polls.
They spend millions of dollars on this.
I mean, it's just like they'll spend millions of dollars union busting you instead of just giving you a raise.
Yeah.
Yep. Very much the case. Whew. So that's heavy. That sucks. Here's something even worse. FEMA camps are real now. But of course, the Republicans stopped caring about that since the people that are going to the camps are marginalized people. Great.
Yeah, they were all upset when they thought it was going to be them, but now that it's like people they don't like in the first place, they're all about it.
Right. So what we're talking about right now is that FEMA has been directed to use a large portion of its budget to build more concentration camps.
$180 million to build. They call them migrant detention centers. But, I mean, we fucking saw Alligator Alcatraz. We all know what's happening here. We're not fucking blind.
Yeah.
These are concentration camps.
Well, and also, like, how do you walk around kidnapping people with your face covered and then get surprised when people call you the secret police and the Gestapo?
Right. And why would anybody be surprised that they're opening these detention facilities? Stephen Miller, who is the guy in charge of directing this shit, he's just keeps raising the number of people they want to detain.
Yep.
Every month.
Yep.
And it's always a bonkers number.
Yeah, one of the numbers thrown out just happened to coincidentally be the number of Latino people living in America legally, like citizens.
That's what they want to get total. That's what they've said. But like they're talking about 3,000 detentions a day.
Right.
They don't even have the facilities to put those people currently, and they definitely don't have the officers to do it, which is one of the reasons why they're spending all this money to hire 10,000 new ICE officers.
Right. Well, and thankfully, it seems like it's a little difficult for them, both in trying to recruit new ICE agents, but also even just locally. The Albany PD, the Troy PD have been hiring for months and months and months. They have big neon light billboards announcing the dates of the test, the application to become a police officer. But those signs haven't come down for months and months. So clearly those positions aren't filling up fast, even though they pay very well.
Dallas is doing the same thing. They've had billboards like that up since before the George Floyd protest. And they still... It's 5 years now.
Yeah,
they still can't get the number of people they've been trying to hire.
It's almost like no one feels like there's good morale to be a part of the police state anymore.
Well, I mean,
not no one, but
fucking, it could put you and your family at risk too. Mm-hmm. Shit. The more we create a secret police, the more shit's gonna wind up like the fucking the Troubles over in Ireland, where fucking I don't know if you've ever seen any of those movies, but their history of it. But like, there's cops who are looking under their cars every day for bombs with mirrors and shit.
Right.
Like, and I'm not saying that you should do that. I'm just saying that the more people hate ICE, the more dangerous it's going to be an ICE officer.
Right. And the word from inside those agencies is that morale's pretty low. Nobody likes being hated. And the thing is that the secret police are very deservedly hated by not just the people that they're targeting, but anyone with a conscience thinks that's despicable.
And they don't quite have the power right now yet to fight back on that. Because, I mean, it could be there are people hanging out in front of hotel rooms that have ICE officers staying in them, just making noise 24/7. And at the moment, they're not able to just grab those people and pull them off the street. But 6 months from now, or a year from now, when there's 10,000 new ICE agents,
right.
Also, if you're hiring that many people that fast, you're not doing a good job of hiring. The people you get are gonna be psychos.
Yeah,
This is
I
like
mean,
bottom of the barrel shit.
Yeah, also, I mean, on some level, you have to at least have like some kind of sick power fantasy to want to be a cop or an ICE agent. Like, they're the same kinds of people that were on runaway slave patrols. They're the same kinds of people that went and rounded up Jews. They're cruel,
Yeah.
cowardly, despicable people.
And normally, they don't have this kind of power, and they just live out their lives as those creepy weirdos who, at work. And if that guy, like the Dwight Schrutes of the world, like they just do their thing and they're annoying and they bother everybody. But the moment they have any power, it's everybody's fucking problem.
Yeah. Small-minded people with tiny shriveled hearts are the ones that can do that kind of work and not, lose any sleep over it.
Opie from the Andy Griffin Show, but way more aggro. Wait, is it Opie? No, who's the... Oh, fuck it. It's, who's the officer that's not Andy Griffith? It's the other one. Opie's the kid, right?
Half fam. I watched that when I was 7. That was 30 years ago.
I hung out with a lot of old people when I was a child. I say hung out. A lot of old people took care of me when I was a child.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, same. Oh, there's a really interesting point to note about all of this, which is that...
Fucking Barney Fife.
Gotcha. So, I think it's important to note that, like, the big bogus bill is going to rip healthcare away from a lot of people. And a lot of those people are, like, homeless right now. They don't have a job because they don't have a home.
A lot of those people have homes because they have the insurance that allows them to get their fucking medication. And when they lose their insurance and they go off their medication, for some of them it's going to be all of our problem.
Yeah, precisely. That the government's going to rip safety nets and medication away from people. It's actually gonna cause a lot more, I think, violence and difficulty on the streets or whatever the regime is pretending to be worried about today while they follow their white nationalist wet dream.
And when that happens, they're just going to use that as further justification for police spending and militarization of the police. Yeah,
this is also reminding me of the kind of arguments you'll hear as a leftist about why, you can't engage in praxis or do anything meaningful. And people will say like, oh, well, if you do something meaningful, then they're just going to come down even harder on you. And it's like, yeah, but if they're going to use every little thing that happens as an excuse to come down harder on people, then you may as well just engage in praxis. Because no matter what you do, they're going to crush you under their boot because that's what fascists do.
That's their goal.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Figure out what you want to do and fucking do it.
Yeah. Praxis beats perfect. We got to put that on a mug.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty good.
Praxis beats perfect, fam.
I mean, praxis is putting your beliefs into practice and or study of those beliefs. Mm-hmm. So, if you believe that food is a human right and that everybody should have it, feeding people would be praxis.
Right.
Learning how to cook would be praxis.
Yep, precisely. Yeah, realizing that, people in your community need childcare and then organizing that as a community to happen is praxis.
Yeah.
Mutual aid is praxis.
Figuring out how to do these things in safe ways is praxis.
Skill sharing is praxis.
Skillshare is practice. Yeah. Especially as we charge more and more to teach people things these days. Mm-hmm. So Skillshare is really fucking praxis right now.
Yeah. Libraries are praxis as well.
Yeah.
Libraries are just dripping in praxis, honestly. Like if you don't know where to start and you don't feel comfortable enough to go to your local Food Not Bombs, and stop by your local library. Some pretty cool and radical people there usually, doing all kinds of stuff for the community.
I volunteered at the Dallas Public Library, for the main branch, for just almost between 6 months and a year. And it was an interesting and unique experience, and I would highly recommend it to everybody. The librarians, my coworkers, were very good people. It was a good. It wouldn't pay because I was a volunteer, but it was a good job.
Right? Yeah. I've also done. I used to volunteer with my local library when I was like a younger kid, and there were like just so many. There were so many programs I remember going to. I went to an origami class. I went to a pottery class. I went to a floral design class. There's even a lot of libraries will do clothing swaps. There are some libraries that have tool libraries where you could rent a leaf blower.
The Albany Public Library has a mini makerspace inside of it.
Yeah, and then
at the main branch.
And then there are also like repair events that they'll do where they'll have people come in, if you have something that needs a minor repair, like a sewing repair or something like that, they'll have people that are there that are volunteering to like help fix things instead of having to buy a new thing. So like these are all really good examples of like teaching and praxis that like you can go and participate in and, be part of your community in that way.
The Dallas Public Library main branch had a giant record collection, like vinyl stuff going back to like the original records. I think they had what do they call them? They were wax records. I don't remember. There's a name for it. I think
wax
they had one
cylinders.
Or two. Yeah. But they also had like the original shellac records before vinyl. They had all kinds of stuff, and then they had a ton of stuff from the 70s and 80s and 90s. Just really cool jam stuff.
I don't know if it's still in operation, but when I was a very young child, the Rochester Public Library had a secret room behind a bookshelf that was like a little reading nook with little pillows and stuffed animals for kids to go and read in. And it was magical. It was so good.
The Fortress of Reading.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, the Fortress of Learning.
The library next to us has a pretty good selection of comic books. I like to check that out. I mean, they have like adult comic books too, and it's not all Marvel. They have a pretty good indie selection.
Cool.
I read one recently about these people who lived in the far future, and the guy was like a dinosaur herder.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah, that sounds really fun.
It really reminded me of like Mobius.
Oh, yeah.
In style. Anywho, moving on from libraries.
We have some world news, which we don't normally do.
World news? On my planet?
On this planet, at this time of day.
Localized entirely throughout the entirety of the Earth?
Patented Skinner burgers. Did you know... so in Albany, there's a really great restaurant called Excelsior, and they have a bunch of different regional foods. So even though I'm in Albany, if I really want a garbage plate with white hots, I can go down to Excelsior and get it. Even though if I order that in any other restaurant, they will be like, what the fuck does that mean? Because it's a Rochester delicacy that most people just don't know about out here. But they have it at Excelsior. And something else that they have at Excelsior.
Wait, is this the pub?
The pub, yeah.
Oh, I love that place. When I first came here, like, they were so good to me.
What they also have there is steamed hams.
Oh.
That's what, if you order a hamburger at Excelsior, you would order a steamed ham. Because it's an Albany expression.
Oh my god, that's great. Honestly, I feel like that's the best pub in town. I haven't been to all the
really
pubs, but it's my favorite.
It's a very good pub. If you're ever in Albany, check out Excelsior. It rocks over there.
I think Jay's the manager. I don't know if he still is. Very cool dude. Very cool guy. Stop by, say hi. Mm-hmm. Maybe we should ask him before we say these things.
Nah. I'm sure he appreciates the shout out to our 13 subscribers.
It's true. It's not like we're sending hordes of people over.
Right. So world news. We have some world news this week. So China recently has had a drop in aerosol production that has sort of unmasked the impending climate catastrophes that are happening.
So if you're not aware, this year is the hottest record in human history.
Yep.
We have already surpassed 1.5C. Mm-hmm. We're on target to surpass 2C sometime in the next 5 years. So by recently, in the China thing, we're talking about in the last 10 to 20 years, they have reduced their overall production of aerosols by 70%. This is amazing. They're actually working on reducing their pollution. Everybody talks about how Beijing has got all this smog problems, and China does, but they are one of the only countries in the world that's actually working to clean this shit up.
Right.
And they're not without their faults. Absolutely not. But a 70% reduction in aerosol production is huge. Now, the reason why this is causing warming right now, an accelerated warming, is because all those aerosols were reflecting solar radiation back out into space. And what that was doing was masking the amount of climate change and heating that was already going on. So now that these aerosols are no longer reflecting that energy out into space, these areas that were kept cool artificially for longer than us are now experiencing all of that at once.
Right.
Which is why you're seeing all these all this talk about wet bulb temperatures in India and record heat throughout China and India and Southeast Asia and stuff. It's because locally they had been geoengineering without realizing it.
Right.
And now that this is gone, just like the container ship thing, if you've ever heard about that, they stopped using the bunker fuel in the container ships, which was full of sulfur, sulfur dioxide, which reflects sunlight back out into space, but is good for the marine life and overall greenhouse gas emissions to stop these things. Like, this is a really good thing that China and Southeast Asia has been doing, eliminating these things.
Yeah.
But it just takes the mask off so that we actually see how fucking bad climate change is now. We're now aware of it in a way that we weren't before. And people are suffering because of it.
Yeah. Someone on the internet said something I thought was really poignant, which was the way that we're all experiencing climate change is that every year the fires and floods get closer and closer to where we live until eventually we're the one recording it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And right now, Asia is on the front lines of climate change. The United States, when we pulled out of the Paris Agreement and we pulled out of, there's a specific name for it. It's the Transition Fund. I can't remember the name, but it's specifically to help lower income countries who are dependent on coal-fired power plants get off of those coal-fired plants. So Asia currently, China, I think alone needs like $1 trillion in spending every year just to mitigate what is currently happening with climate change without rolling it back.
Right.
Adapting to it, if you will. The United States was supposed to cover $800 billion of that money. And that goes throughout all of Asia to help on these transition projects.
Right.
We're not doing that.
Right.
So it's not happening. But that does mean that there's $200 billion that is being put towards it, which is woefully inadequate, but at least it's something.
Right.
And I hope I've explained the situation fairly well.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I'm not always good at explaining shit.
Almost all of our global news is climate related here. So we have also the evacuation of an entire country currently underway.
Yeah. Well, this is two countries. I don't know. The article we read said this is the first time this has happened. But we know that the Marshall Islands is also experiencing a similar thing.
Right.
And so a lot of those people are going to Kansas for some reason. I don't know. They've built a community. I mean, I think they have other communities around the world too, but a lot of people from the Marshall Islands, because the entire island chain is only 2 feet above ground, or I'm sorry, not 2 feet above ground,
sea level.
2 feet above sea level at its highest point, usually. They just can't stay there.
Right.
Which makes me wonder what's going to happen with the whole immigration thing. We had made arrangements with their government for these people because, well, we're largely responsible for their situation.
So do you know the Tom and Jerry meme where Tom the cat is sticking a shotgun into the wall and then it's like looping around and pointing back at him in the head?
Yeah.
So it's like, us fueling climate catastrophe is like us shoving the gun into the wall, and then the gun pointing back is all of the immigrants that are going to try and come to places that are above water because of climate change. In other world news, the evacuation of an entire country is underway due to climate change.
So this is from an article in Wired magazine. Tuvalu is preparing to carry out the first planned migration of its entire country. This is an island nation in the South Pacific, kind of near Australia. Although South Pacific is so big, like kind of near Australia, it could be like 1,000 miles away.
Right.
Anywho, the highest point on the island is 2 meters above sea level.
That's
and they
not
projected,
very tall.
No, it's not. Well, the projections show that in the next 25 years, most of the island could be underwater.
Right.
Well, will likely be underwater.
Right.
A similar thing is happening in the Marshall Islands. A lot of them are migrating to the United States, to Kansas. It looks like the people of Tuvalu are migrating to Australia. But intentional or not, this is a cultural genocide.
Yeah.
These people will never be the same. Their cultural practices, their identity, is tied to the islands from whence they come.
Right.
I mean, we all talk about baking bread, with our grandmothers or whatever, but like we bake bread because we have wheat.
Right.
They don't have that. They have other foods on their island. So they do those things, and those become part of their cultural practices. Cultural practices are as practical to the culture as, well, cultural. Culture is a lot more than entertainment. It's how you do things, how you live, your philosophies.
What you wear.
When
you rest.
Yeah, well, that's important.
Yeah, these are all things that are specific to a culture and a land.
Basically, their entire lives will be completely different than they were.
Yeah.
Because the context in which they lived is now underwater.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really sad. We're losing so much in terms of biodiversity. We're losing so much in terms of cultural diversity. This sphere that we live on is being eaten up and consumed by the wealthy.
Boiling. So our hearts go out to the people of Tuvalu.
Yeah.
Happy journeys, I hope. I know they won't be happy. I mean, this is a trail of tears. I mean, it's not under gunpoint, but it might as well be. They can't stay on the island.
Right.
They'll die in the next typhoon.
Systemic genocide is sometimes even more terrifying and sinister than like a personal one. Because like the ways in which systemic violence erase and silence people is very real. And this is another example of just a collapsing system devouring the people in it.
Yeah. I think another huge point of consideration here is there's not just migration trouble in the United States. Australia has similar really restrictive migration policies. Mm-hmm. A lot of the European Union does as well, not within their own sphere of influence, but people coming there.
Right.
And so the people from the Marshall Islands, the United States and the Marshall Islands had an agreement, but that was before Trump. Mm-hmm. What's going to happen to these largely brown people once they get here?
Yeah.
What's going to happen? I mean, are they going to be safe? Are they going to get sent to a Venezuelan torture camp or someplace in El Salvador? I mean, who knows?
Or alligator Auschwitz.
Right.
Or a work camp where they will essentially be farm slaves. Like, there are so many really bad potential outcomes that are like, very rational. Oh man, this is like a little bit of a tangent, but it is important. So I was talking to my psychiatrist, and she asked me how I'm doing with my paranoia. And I stopped for a moment, and I said, well, if you consider the context in which I may very well lose my health care, I may very well lose my autonomy, I may very well become property of the state under this regime, I think I have an appropriate amount of paranoia given that material context. In considering that, I'd say it's actually doing quite well, and I'm very happy with my personal life. But it's important when considering mental health, fam, out there, dear listener, that your mental health practice should not be something that numbs you out and just allows you to mindlessly participate in...
That's not healthy either.
No, that's not healing. That's not healthy.
It's not good for your situation.
Whatever you do for wellness should also give you the courage and strength to stand and make a stand where you can, to make changes where you can, to participate in your community where you can. And if your mode of wellness is only just allowing you to like numb out to continue to go to work without unaliving yourself, then like, fam, that's not healing, that's not medicine, that's not healthy. And, you know, there are better and other tools out there that could help give you the strength to fight back and to demand your rights and demand your dignity.
Well, I mean, it may just be a place you have to work towards.
Sure, of course, of course. You know, we all have however many spoons we're working with, and we're not going to be, some of us, you know, are merely surviving. And as I often say, dear listener, existence is resistance. And if all you managed to do today was survive, that's still very important, and it's still a blow to the fascist state.
But you don't want to knowingly and willingly numb yourself to the realities of the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
At some point, that little bubble's going to burst, and all that real is going to get real fast.
Yeah, that too. Community is the only balm against the nightmares of the world that we're currently facing.
Yeah.
You're not going to do it alone.
I wonder about the communities after Tulvia and the Marshalls. Who's going to be next? I mean, a lot of these little island chains are going to have these same problems. Yeah. And whether it's their island goes underwater or all the fish die or just don't return to their waters and there's nothing to eat, something is going to drive a lot of people from all over the world to the places that are still safe. And as of the moment, that's a large part of the United States. And we've already seen climate migration all over the world.
Yeah.
And it's only going to accelerate. So our attitudes towards that migration needs to change, because the way it is now and the way it has been through my entire life has been violent and genocidal and othering of human beings that are coming here for refuge.
Also, like, I think a lot of it has to do too with like how long your family's been here, because we're all immigrants on stolen land. First off.
Well, unless you're native, but yeah.
So, right, yes, except for a very, very small number of people. The rest of us are immigrants. And if your family immigrated here in living memory, like mine did, you know, at least for me, when the media was saying like, oh, immigrants are bad and dirty and don't belong here and can't assimilate and blah, blah, blah.
They're not bringing their best.
They're not bringing their best, right? All that stuff. I was thinking about my babcha, my maternal grandma, who fled the Holodomor, the famine in Ukraine during World War II, and how she like worked super hard as a janitor her whole life and had this like beautiful farm that she worked on and grew all her own food and made all her own clothes and did embroidery and crafts and all kinds of cultural stuff that she passed on to me. You know, I think, you know, when you haven't your immigrant family as like a living relative to you, it's a little bit harder to fall for those BS lines, because you're like, well, wait a minute, you're talking about me, you're talking about my family. And I know, you know, our community's full of good people that do right by each other. So what are you talking? Who are you talking about? Who is this imagined boogeyman?
Well, and that's where a lot of our white supremacist government comes in to say, well, brown people.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and that's definitely been the case with these ICE raids, right? They're like, they're arresting.
They're racially profiling people.
Yeah, absolutely. Even like there have been lots of citizens that have been detained, you know, for days by ICE, not allowed to shower, not allowed to change their clothes, not allowed to make a phone call or contact a lawyer, nothing. And There was one example, I forgot which person it was, but the guy was saying, I'm a citizen. And the ICE agent said, no, you're a Migo, brother. Just because he was brown, right? So it's very much this, quote unquote, immigration is just a dog whistle. It's just veiled language. What they mean is brown people.
And they've always meant that.
Yep.
And specifically, we can look back and look at laws that the United States passed in the early 1900s limiting the amount of people from Asia or from Mexico or from Africa into the United States, or undesirable groups of white people, what we now consider white people.
Yep. Italians and Irish people. Yeah, absolutely.
The Limitation Act, I think was the name of it.
I think it was, if I remember correctly, I'm going to fact check this right now, but I'm pretty sure it was the Chinese Exclusion Act.
Well, that was one of them, but there were several.
Right.
But yeah, the Chinese Exclusion Act was one of them, yeah. I mean, it's in the title. It's in the title.
That was the first one. It was 1882. Before the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, there were absolutely no restrictions on immigration at all.
Which is how that's how my ancestors got in.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's how my father's side of the family got in. They just walked in. Yeah. From Germany. Yeah. And set up shop.
And then we passed these explicitly racist laws.
Yep.
And even though they say that the government's not racist anymore and bullshit like that, our immigration policy is still built on these things. There are still limits in the number of people who can come from specific countries every year. So
I heard a really great analogy about structural racism, because that's what we're talking. We're talking right now about structural racism.
Yep.
And a really good example would be, let's say there was a hotel owner really hated disabled people, didn't like looking at them, didn't want them around. So he built a bunch of architecture, stairs, etc., that excluded people who had disabilities. Now, let's say a new owner buys that building. Well, it's still structurally, literally in its structure, excluding disabled people because that's what it was built to do. So you would have to actually make some changes to that literal physical structure to make it more accommodating to the people that were intentionally marginalized when that structure was created.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of those places are due for the grandfather clause of the Americans with Disability Act. A lot of places just get to stay that way.
I'd love to see a disabled people's union.
There is one.
Oh.
Actually, there's a bunch of disabled people's organizations.
Yeah, well, I know
stuff your mom never told you. Actually did an episode on it, because apparently this is Disability Month.
Oh, it is. It's Disability Pride Month.
It's Disability Pride Month.
By the time this comes out, it will no longer be Disability Pride Month. But we are, in fact, recording on the last day of July. So, I'm proud to be a disabled person. I have stopped apologizing for the accommodations that I require. I've stopped apologizing for taking up the amount of space I take up. And that...
You stopped apologizing for existing.
Yeah. And realizing that just as I don't accept arbitrary authority, other people's arbitrary standards and ideas for how I should live my life are a complete and total irrelevancy to me. I could not give a shit less. This is my life. And at the end of it, I'm the one I have to be right with. In fact, I have a self-portrait of myself at 77. Oh. And when I forget who I'm accountable to, I go and I look at her. Because all I want from this life is in the moments before I die to have two thoughts. I want the first thought to be, well, shit, that was fun. And I want the second thought to be, I did the best I could with what I had. And if I can say those two things at the end of my life, well then, damn, I did this right.
Yeah, you'll do it pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're all going to die. We're all going to face disability.
Mm-hmm. Almost no one lives their entire life as an abled person, fam.
Well, the people who
make your peace with that now.
The people who do usually, die.
You know what I mean? Like a terrible accident.
Yeah, like
right,
there's an accident and it just kills them, and then they never had the chance to become disabled.
Right. But for all of us, who are going to have sunset years as elderly people, we are not going to be as abled as we are now.
I'm in my late 30s, and like there's a bunch of shit I cannot do now that I could do 10 years ago. Like you don't even have to be in your sunset years. You can just be getting towards middle age.
Yep.
And even the normal aging part of that is disabling.
Yep.
But also, you're more prone to injury.
And your injuries take way longer to heal. Yay! Yeah. Although, I gotta say, part of me is really enjoying aging. I'm really, I know the aches and pains. I know our bodies start falling apart. I get it. But I feel like I become a little bit more myself every day.
I never got to be young and sexy, and that would have been nice. To be young and sexy and like have a lot of sex and be desirable, and I would have enjoyed that. I never really got to do that. But I would say that I am more myself now than I have ever been. Mm-hmm. And getting older is part of that. Like, there's an amazing and beautiful part of this. Mm-hmm. And there's also, like, a tragic part of this. But also the fact that it's a little good and a little bad makes it bittersweet. And it also, like, enhances the experience, I guess.
Yeah. I've long believed that every single person's capacity for both joy and sorrow is a wavelength, and that you have your equilibrium of just like not feeling anything, neutral. So you have the peak of joy that you're able to experience and the depth of sorrow that you're able to experience. And in my life, those two have always seemed equidistant from the center to me. And it's one of the reasons that I would say I'm proud to have bipolar disorder. And if there was suddenly a magical cure, right, and I could become neurotypical, I don't know that I would choose that. Because I think I have
kind of fucked too, like
I have, but
magical cures for shit.
Sure, right. I mean,
they say
should there
that's
be
exactly what autism speaks is.
Right,
They're like, we're going to find a cure to autism, and
right.
autistic people are like, I don't need a cure. I just need to be me.
Yeah, I just need to have my needs accommodated.
Right,
I need to be
think
heard.
That's the same thing about bipolar people and people with schizoaffective disorder. And I mean, there are a lot of disorders that are brought on by trauma, and like, you don't need to go through hell to experience joy. Like, you don't have to suffer to have pain. But I do think you're right that it like adds something to the joy when you have it. If you're allowing yourself to have that.
I think you're just holding the distance between the two spaces. You know what I mean? Like everything is in perspective, and like things are in relation to each other. Yeah. So you can't help but juxtapose like the height of your joy with like the depth of your sorrow, because there's a big distance to hold between those two things.
You're standing on the mountain of joy, looking down at the valley of sadness.
Yeah.
And you're going, whoa, shit, I'm on a fucking mountain. Like, look at all this. Look at the view.
And often you're like, hey, I climbed all the way up to here from all the fucking way down there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like a beautiful moment. That like I hope, dear listener, that you get to have moments like that in your life where you can see how far you've come and astound yourself for a moment.
It's the human experience.
It is, yeah.
And at the end of the day, you can say that you were truly human.
It's true. Human.
Humans.
So we have a little bit more world news. There are currently some really important tsunami warnings and tsunami watches.
Well, there was the big earthquake.
Yeah, I think it was an 8.7 massive earthquake. Yeah, right. You normally never hear of anything above a 5. Right. So, it was an earthquake in Russia that we're talking about.
It was right off the coast of, what's that? The little peninsula that juts off from the big part of Russia. I think it's like where Vladivostok is. Mm. Oh man, we sound dumb, don't we?
I don't know.
I don't know my Russian geography super well.
Listen, me
it's
neither.
So big.
It's a very big place. Right. So also we're just doing headline. We're riffing on headlines here. anything that you feel like you want to fact check us on, you know what? We would love it if you went down in the comments and told us just how dumb we are because we don't know the names of specific things. That's great. Educate us. We love that.
Also, this is not, we're talking about the news, but this is not where you should get your news from.
No, this is news, NOOZ.
Yeah.
Like all infotainment news should have to label itself as such, in my opinion.
Go look up these stories, listen to the podcast, and it's like we're talking about it together.
Yeah, precisely.
It's a parasocial relationship.
It is, on purpose even. We're fun people to hang out with on the internet. We're also fun people to hang out with in real life, but you'd have to come visit us for that.
Please don't. I mean, I'm sure you're a nice person, but like, I don't want to be a public figure. Please leave me alone.
Sure. That is one of the many juxtapositions KT and I hold. The atheist and the priest, the solitary figure in the shadows, and the semi-public figure.
I have a lot of friends.
Right.
I feel like being a public figure puts me and my family at risk.
I mean, that's true.
So
definitely.
Leave me alone, please.
You can bother me a little bit, but not in person. Just like write me an email. Or write a comment. Write a comment on this video.
Yeah, no, that's actually the best way. We'll comment back.
Yeah. Like and subscribe, fam.
Yeah. Like, comment, subscribe.
Send us to your friends. Send us to your boss. Maybe don't send us to your boss if you want to keep your job.
Unless your boss is really cool.
Man, that would be great. Maybe you are your boss.
Yeah. And in which case, give yourself a raise.
Yes, that's a great idea.
You deserve some time off. Okay, well, let's turn our attention to Gaza for a moment.
Yeah, we would not be doing our due diligence if we didn't talk about what's going on in Gaza right now. This is a genocide of an entire peoples. This is a forced starvation of the people who are still there.
It's a settler colonial project.
It's hitting me especially hard because, as I mentioned before, my family is Ukrainian, and there are some haunting echoes here between what happened in the Holodomor, the Great Famine in Ukraine during World War II, and what's happening now in Gaza. It's horrific, and it's very sad that not only that it's happening, but that it's being perpetuated by a culture of people who definitely know better. The whole reason that Israel exists is because of a genocide. You would think that being the victim of a genocide would prevent you from perpetuating a genocide on another people. You would think.
Well, one would hope that would inoculate you from that, but clearly it's not the case.
No. And it's really sad because every criticism of Israel is framed as like an anti-Semitic thing when I don't know a single Jewish person that is okay with what's happening in Gaza right now. And I know a lot of Jewish people.
I do. The community is divided, and it's usually the more conservative members, which is unsurprising. But Jewish people are not a monolith.
Right.
Jewish people are not responsible for this.
The
United States and the government of Israel, the settler colonial project of Israel, are responsible for this genocide.
Yeah.
And that is not the Jewish people.
No people are a monolith. Not Palestinians, not Israelis, not Americans, not red states, not blue states, not leftists, not conservatives. No people are a monolith, and no people are just like representative of the worst also.
Yeah, except for Nazis, because they are literally the worst.
Yeah. Well, I mean, white nationalism is a real problem.
Yeah. All over the world.
All over the world, white supremacy is a real problem.
The United Nations has said that they are on the cusp of famine. In order to get a classification of in order to get an official declaration of famine, you have to meet 3 criteria, one of which is that people are already dying from famine.
Right.
So, and we know that people are already dying from hunger, especially children and the elderly.
Right.
So, people are already dying from this famine. Mm-hmm. If we're anticipating one and the situation on the ground has not changed, I don't care. Let's go ahead and fucking call it what it is.
Right.
It's an engineered famine.
Yep.
In order to prevent the worst case scenario, Israel has to let in thousands of trucks a day at this point to meet the supply demands of the population. They've completely leveled Gaza. There's hardly a building standing. There's hardly any food left in the entire fucking world's largest concentration camp.
Yeah.
These people are starving. And what's even worse is that American contractors, vis-a-vis mercenaries, and Israeli soldiers are firing on people who are trying to get to the aid centers that the Israelis and the NGOs have set up. So we have people right now in Gaza shooting indiscriminately into crowds of people.
Yeah.
Who just want to eat. They just want to survive.
Yeah. At some point, you have to call it what it is.
This is murder.
And also, at any point in time, you can stand up and say, this isn't right. And while the best time to do that would have been earlier, the next best time is right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really heavy. It's like I said, it's especially heavy for me because it rhymes so much with the Holodomor. And it's just like, you know, I grew up with whispers. They're not the kind of stories you tell. They're the kind of stories that haunt you and keep you up at night. And they're not something that you want to share with your grandkids or something you want to protect them from. You know, I learned about it in Sodochuk in the cultural school. And then I'd ask my babcha about it, and I could tell it was really hard for her to talk about it because, like, how do you, as a survivor of that kind of atrocity, you know, all you try to do is build a life that's safe enough that you can't feel it on you anymore if you survive. And then you also carry with you the memory of everyone you know that didn't survive. My babcha fled the only town she'd ever known in the middle of the night because the nearest village had turned to cannibalism, and her mother told her to run. So she hopped on a train going wherever.
Cannibalism is a fucking nightmare. It's a terrible thing, but people don't just turn to that for no reason. And I'm not saying that that's happening in Gaza now. I don't know. But a population that is starving,
that is being starved,
will at some point lose cohesion.
Yeah.
Things will break down and the weakest will suffer.
Yeah.
Until, I don't know, until the Israelis decide it's enough or until there's nobody's left.
I mean, it really does seem like, I mean, like we're calling it a genocide because all signs point to they have no intention of stopping until every last Palestinian is dead or fled.
I mean, if their goal was to get rid of Hamas, I mean, Hamas isn't even fucking relevant at this point. They haven't been for quite a while. And also, starving an entire population, punishing an entire population for the crimes of a few is literally against the Geneva Convention. Like, there are international laws about this. This is illegal.
Yeah.
And if it was anybody but Israel, we would have stopped this by now. But our politicians are still voting to send weapons to Israel.
Yeah.
Do you know that Israel doesn't have a giant arms manufacturing or ammunition manufacturing part of their economy?
Of course not.
They don't need to. They get it from us.
Right.
We're sending them the weapons, the bombs, the intelligence.
The mercenaries.
Yep. The bullets, the guns.
Yep.
To murder people.
Yep.
In our name. Do you know they have universal health care in Israel? We don't even have that here. We pay for that shit.
In our name and with our money.
Yeah. While we starve as well.
Yep.
While we get kicked out of our homes because the rent just never stops increasing.
But the wages never increase.
And if they ever do, they won't be enough.
Yep. Yeah, not remotely keeping pace with inflation. For decades, wages have been stagnant since the late 80s.
There's a really famous graph that shows that how wages are tied to production. And in the 1970s, there's a huge inflection point where production goes way up, but wages don't. They stay stagnant at the level of the 1970s, and they've barely gone up. If we were to tack the wage of the average worker to production right now, you would be making over $60 an hour.
Yep.
Other jobs way more, but like the average would be $60 an hour.
By the way, that's like what other countries actually give their workers. Like,
well, no country gives their workers the full value of their labor.
right, but
At
there's
least
like a
it's
living
somewhat
wage
pegged to production.
Right. It's somewhat tied to production.
Or at least they have some kind of welfare mechanism in their country to provide safety nets for their people to some
Right.
degree.
Yeah.
Although almost every Western country has been touched by neoliberalism. And I mean, Britain used to have a robust social welfare system, and they have practically torn it down brick by brick.
Yeah.
They're going after the NHS now. And look at what Canada's doing, going after their own public health system.
Yep.
They're conservative politicians, that is.
Right.
None of us are safe.
Yeah. White supremacy and its bosom buddy fascism are coming for all of these colonial settler countries right now. It goes hand in hand with the sort of decline of capitalism, right? Because like when capitalism's doing well, it can kind of generate, a populace that feels like they're participating willingly in this system because it's generating some wealth for them or for enough people that will maintain it. But as late stage capitalism has already like cornered every market and sucked all of the excess wealth that it can out of a particular resource or a particular area, they don't have that wealth to share with any of the workers anymore. So now you have a switch from trying to get people to willingly participate in your system to like, okay, now you're going to participate in our system by force because we can't get you to capitulate willingly.
That's just slavery. Marx called that wage slavery.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not chattel slavery, no. But like what we're doing to people is the economy has enslaved them.
Yeah. Yeah. And then also too, we would be remiss not to mention that we never actually got rid of slavery. We just decided that slavery was a way to punish criminals.
Yep. Or the mentally ill.
Or the mentally ill. Yep. We have some good news.
Okay, so just an insane amount of new energy production. 93% of the new energy production in the world is renewables. Wind, solar, other sources, and the wide variety of new battery technology that we have to store all this. This is pretty fucking great.
That is great.
A lot of greenhouse gas emissions come from power plants.
Fossil fuels.
Fossil fuels, yeah. One of the next biggest sources is cars and military pollution. Mm-hmm. So just electrifying or just getting renewables into the power grid. If we could replace all of our fossil fuel electric production with renewables, that'd be amazing. That's what we have to do to survive.
Yeah,
but
it's not really negotiable.
It's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and one of the things that I find really heartening and like hopeful about it is that like the world is moving towards what we need to do, whether or not the United States is on board.
There are definitely people all around the world, us included, who want to take a positive step forward.
Yeah.
And even if our government and our economic system hold us back, there is progress being made.
Yeah. Also, like, God, some of those people have children. They want, their great-great-grandchildren to exist on a world that's capable of sustaining life.
Yeah. Not a Max Max world would be great.
Yeah. Not a Fallout world would be awesome.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of people, myself included, wound up not having kids because it was really hard for me to see a future for them when the projections on, climate warming and topsoil and overfishing and just so many different working parts to like the sort of total ecological collapse that we're facing right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I can't really conscionably bring another human being into this mess when I don't, my best solution for what to do about it is start a podcast. So
I mean, I didn't have kids because I can't afford them.
yeah, that too. That too.
I froze my sperm after I transitioned, and I couldn't afford to keep paying to store it. So, and it's only good for 10 years. And, it's been about that much time, and I haven't kept with the bills, so it's not there anymore. And also, like, I can't afford to have a kid.
Yeah. And additionally...
That's crazy. I can't afford to adopt either. That's crazy expensive.
Oh, I know. It's so expensive. Oh, my goodness. For real. So, like, as an AFAB person, society pushes certain ideas on you, like baby dolls, kitchen play set, you're going to grow up to be a wife and a mother kind of thing. And for a long time, incidentally, while I was also denying my non-binariness to myself, I was like, oh, I want to do that. I want to be a wife and like a stay-at-home mom and bake things and play and have a great time with my kids and blah, blah, blah. And then at some point I had to admit to myself that I'm disabled. And all of a sudden, all the other considerations aside, like I can't afford kids, I don't know what kind of world I'm bringing them into, all that. The most important thing became like, oh, I'm too disabled to be a good parent, actually.
A lot of articles have been published about why the birth rate is declining. And I'll tell you fucking why. Rent is $1,500 a month.
Oh.
And I don't like the average worker in the United States. The average salary is under $40,000.
Yep. That math don't math.
That dog won't hunt.
No.
Who can afford to have kids? And the people who do are ruined financially.
Yeah, so there's actually a checklist that I saw. And it's, here are all the reasons that the birth rate is collapsing. 1, no one can afford groceries, especially with these recent tariffs.
Right.
Coffee has doubled in price. Chocolate is about to double in price. Everything's more expensive. $40 buys you 1 brown paper bag worth of groceries these days, if that. Then your kid might get shot at school. And if your kid is queer, they'll be targeted. And if your kid is neurodivergent, they're going on a list. And if your kid gets sick, medical debt will destroy you. And if there's a complication to your pregnancy, they'll let you die. And
Horribly.
they have the absolute fucking audacity to go, why aren't they having children? I don't understand.
Fucking education costs a goddamn arm and a leg and will financially destroy you if you get educated.
Yeah.
So, like, what... You're supposed to have a kid and like turn them into and put them in all of this. This is insane.
My favorite reason that's not on the list is that I'd rather not create more workers to be ground up into sausage by this machine.
I've always wanted to be a mom, and even if I didn't birth those babies, which ain't gonna happen, I don't know. There's a lot of good people who want to have kids because it's a human fucking instinct. And these monsters have the gall to be like, why aren't people having kids? And then
for real.
I watched, do you ever see Licorice Pizza? It's a movie.
No.
Okay. It's about these kids in the 1970s. And one of them he's got like this dream to open a waterbed business. And he's like a fucking teenager.
Right.
Like, it's just like, wow, fuck. Kids lived like that in the 70s? And, they were latchkey kids. It wasn't a great thing either. But just the sheer amount of difference between their childhood and our childhood, and then our childhood to the next generation.
Yeah.
You think it's a police state for adults? It's getting to be a police state for adults, but it is a fucking police state for children right now.
Yeah.
There are all these apps to track where they are on the phone, who they talk to, what they talk about. You can fucking read your kids' messages.
Yep.
And people think that's normal.
Yeah.
You're just indoctrinating your children to either be really good liars, like I was as a kid because I had to be,
Yep.
or to live under a fucking police state.
Yep. Because I love you, said Big Brother.
Right.
I'm just watching out for you.
Just watch it out.
It's because I love you.
But I'm going to
so
track
much.
everything you do and everywhere you go. And also, you can't go to the mall because the mall has a no child unattended policy. So, like, where are you supposed to go as a kid?
Yeah.
There's nowhere to hang out.
Especially as a teenager, yeah.
And also-
Definitely nowhere without the expectation of spending money, with the
Right.
exception of the library, which is why we love the fucking library.
Library, the last bastion of fucking freedom,
Yeah. Yeah, it's nuts.
which the Trump administration is doing everything they can to defund.
Sure, of course. So I just want to say that if the Life 360 app had existed when I was a teenager, I would still be grounded to this day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really feel for you know what I mean? Like rebelling and, sneaking out of the house or doing something you know you're not supposed to do. It's like part of growing up.
Well, it's part of developing autonomy. And if you don't do these things, you don't develop the ability to act for yourself.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what they want, probably.
Probably. I mean, I don't know that they like explicitly want anything. I think that they're just trying to sell parents these subscriptions and these apps, and I think the state is trying to force a version of childcare that may not be intentional, but is absolutely psychologically devastating to children.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, at the end of the day, they don't care. They just complain about Karen. They just care about Karens complaining at the mall about rowdy teenagers.
Right.
Or the
Yeah.
perception of crime.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so sad. Me and my friends would just get dropped off at the mall all the time. There was this is one of the saddest stories, and like it's really indicative of like police state, right? Literally. Let me tell you about this. When I was a teenager, there was an arcade in the mall. And we had a great time, and we played Dance Dance Revolution, and it was the 90s and early 2000s, so I'm like in a plaid mini skirt with black combat boots on, doing my Dance Dance Revolution and flirting with all the boys and having a grand old time. They got rid of that arcade, and they put in a police station.
Ooh.
A literal police station. And like that's really the difference between like the world that you and I grew up in and the world that these kids have today. Well, that's the end.
Oh my God, that's the end. Hey, I know the solar panel thing seems like a small drop of good and a vast sea of bad, but it's actually a really cool thing. The price of solar electricity, the price of solar panels is so low now that it's cheaper than fossil fuels. So, like, Trump wants to try to reverse this. They're trying to do everything they can to prop up the petro state, but it's just not economical anymore. And they're still going to drill oil, and it's still going to be a mess, and it's still going to be terrible, and it's still going to be fucking suck. But, like, the price of electricity from renewables is lower than the price of gas. That's amazing. And that signifies like an economic trend, because it took a ton of production to get it that low, and that production's not going away overnight, no matter what the Trump administration wants to do.
Right.
And even if we stop building all renewable projects in the United States, which New York 100% will not fucking do.
Oh, absolutely not.
They're going to fight that shit to, like, I don't know, the Second American Civil War. Even if they keep fighting it, that's not gonna stop people all over the rest of the world moving to solar and wind and other renewables.
It's not even going to stop individual homes from buying solar panels so that they're contributing to the energy grid instead of buying from it.
Or even just producing their own electricity for themselves. There's a huge thing right now in a lot of air quotes developing nations where they don't even tie into the grid. They just have the solar on top of their house or whatever, and they're not building the grid infrastructure. They're just building out for their needs. So, listener, I want to leave you with this bit of hope. yes, things are going to get worse. Yes, things are bad now. But they will get better. There are positive trends in the world. And the flame of freedom and justice and solidarity that lives within our hearts, they're not just going to stomp that shit out. They're going to fucking try. But fascism never lasts. The Trump dictatorship will not last. Also, that man is not healthy. And even if he dies in office, what are they going to replace him with? JD Vance? Fuck JD Vance. Nobody likes fucking JD Vance.
Did you see when the White House released that the meme of like it's the car chase and it's like Trump and JD Vance are chasing Obama?
Oh yeah.
But he used the baby face, the stupid baby face picture.
Fucking even they're doing it
of JD Vance instead of the real one. Like
they don't even like JD Vance.
I know nobody likes JD Vance.
I mean, when Trump dies, they're gonna try to shove down another tin pot dictator down our throats, or another businessman, and pretend like it's business as usual. But this shit, they're not gonna recover from this Trump shit. This is not gonna last. We've got maybe a few more years of this, maybe 10 at the most, or whatever other horrible guy comes after him. But like, this situation will not last. Capitalism will not go on forever. The American empire will not go on, will not march on into the future forever.
Yeah, especially not making the choices that it's making right now.
Yeah. Change is coming, and you can be a part of that change.
Here's how. Like we said earlier in the episode, you can check out your local library, see how you can contribute to what's going on and what you can learn. Another great place to start is your local Food Not Bombs chapter. Food Not Bombs, because feeding your neighbors is punk as fuck. Locally in Albany, our Food Not Bombs community meal, is Mondays at 5 p.m. at the Social Justice Center on the corner of Henry Johnson and Central. And then every third Saturday, we have a free store.
The really, really free store.
Where you can find all kinds of things from toys to men's clothes, women's clothes, children's clothes, bedding, housewares, even some random stuff. Like one of my friends found a laser tag set.
Oh, that's so fun.
That was
oh my God,
pretty
that's
cool. And then, of course, if you don't have these organizations in your area, with Food Not Bombs in particular, you can feel free to start your own chapter, because we are a grassroots organization that just meets the needs of our community however we can.
All it takes is deciding you want to do it and then doing it.
Well, deciding you want to do it, finding maybe at least like 4 or 5 other people, and then starting to solicit donations from local businesses and community members. Everything that we give away at the free store we received on donation, and we just put it all out, and if you'd like it, you can feel free to take it. And it's that simple. In addition to the library and Food Not Bombs, you can check out your local Democratic Socialists of America.
The DSA is almost assuredly in your town, trying to stir up good trouble, trying to help their neighbors, and probably doing just sometimes really long meetings, but sometimes very good ones. Before the pandemic, I used to bring homemade alcohol. I made a lot of homemade wine and cider, and I used to bring them to every meeting, and people just had it for free. It was great.
In addition to the DSA, there's also the International Workers of the World, the IWW.
There's the SRA, Socialist Rifles Association of America. If you're queer, there's the Pink Pistols. And there's the John Brown Gun Club.
Because if you go far enough left, you get your guns back.
Yeah. And also they're essential for community defense.
That too. Yeah, one of the craziest stories KT has ever told me was about how down in Texas, the local FNB had like armed defense.
Well, the police were trying to shut them down, and John Brown, not the man himself because he's died in the 1840s, but the organization came down, the Elm Fork John Brown Gun Club came down to guard the FNB guys, to defend them from the police.
Yeah, that's like some really dystopian, holy cow. Whew.
I mean, yeah, it's dystopian and scary, but also neighbors came down to defend other neighbors. This is a beautiful act of love and solidarity in a community.
Yeah. Heck yeah. It's just as a comfy, comfortable, like, never really had to deal with that kind of oppression exactly because I live in New Yorker. Yeah, I'm glad that happens, but I'm also glad that I've never seen it, if that makes sense.
Well,
it's never been necessary up here.
Let's hope it continues to not be necessary up here, but also prepare in case it is.
Yeah, both of those things. You'll notice that we haven't said some organizations that we were repping in the past, namely like the No Kings movement and 5051 and Indivisibles. I personally, if you want to get involved and network and go to those organizations or rallies, then like, I'm not going to tell you how to resist. You do you. It just does seem to me that this is a capture of enthusiasm as opposed to channeling that towards something real that will have an impact on your community. And in that spirit, we're centering these other organizations that we mentioned already. Food Not Bombs, DSA, your local library, your local leftist gun club. These are all things that when we have to come together as communities to both to support each other and to defend each other. And that should be, if we have any enthusiasm towards building better, or protecting each other during this really difficult time in our history, your energy would be better spent turned towards community in some way, as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, and also I've seen a lot of people who get in groups here in town and they go onto bridges or overpasses or just the side of the road with signs, and they just tell the world how they feel. And, I think that actually is pretty good, important work. When you see a lot of people out everywhere you go saying, hey, something is happening, you start to pay attention.
Also, if you've got like a little band of people, let's say maybe like 10, 15 people, right? Even like 8 people. A little handful, a friend group, a little handful of people, and you get out there and you are making a statement about something, what you'll find is an awful lot of people honk while they pass by you and raise their fist in solidarity. So, like, at least you'll know that, like, you're not the only person that cares about this in your community. And you might even, and probably will, meet people and talk to them and build more community that way around whatever issue you're trying to bring attention to.
And that's how movements start.
Yeah, precisely. Movements start with people, fam.
Yep.
And you're people.
Oh, right.
And we're people. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Well, I am people. Reverend Nadine Morsch, interfaith minister.
And I, too, am a human organism. KT Sunshine.
And remember, us freaks gotta stick together.